Hello, everyone, and welcome. Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute. While we're waiting, if you could say hello in the chat box, let us know where you're joining us from. Hello and welcome. We're saying hello in the chat box right now. Let's see. We have folks from California. Hello, good morning in Hawaii. Maryland, Texas, Florida, Pennsylvania. I guess at Ohio. Michigan, Washington. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Montana, Oregon. That's great. Thank you everybody for joining us. Continue to say hello in the chat box. We're gonna go ahead and get started. My name is Leslie Gabe-Swanston. Before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping notes. All attendees are in listen only mode. This webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording and the slides will be made available. As I said, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Leslie Gabe-Swanston, Director of Program and Systems Quality at the National Summer Learning Association. Just a quick overview of our webinar today, Designing Successful Hybrid Summer Program Models. First, I'm going to share a little bit about NSLA for those of you who are unfamiliar. Then we'll hear from our featured guests. We'll have some time for questions and answers, and then we'll wrap up with a couple announcements. As we're going along, if you have any questions that you would like asked and answered live, please put those into the Q&A box. I'll try to catch them if they're in the chat box, but it's a little bit easier for us to see them if you put them into the Q&A box. So a little bit about the National Summer Learning Association. NSLA is the only national nonprofit exclusively focused on addressing the achievement and opportunity gaps by increasing access to summer learning opportunities. NSLA's goal is to increase nationwide the number of high quality summer learning programs. To achieve this goal, NSLA recognizes and disseminates what works, offers expertise and support for programs and communities, and advocates for summer learning as a solution for equity and excellence in education. NSLA's work is driven by the belief that all children and youth deserve high quality summer learning experiences that will help them succeed in college, career, and life. Core to our work is the recognition that high quality summer learning programs work and have been shown to improve reading and math skills, school attachment, motivation, and relationships with adults and peers. So with that, I would like to turn things over to Alec Lee and Terrence Riley from Aim High. Alec, Terrence?
Yes, good afternoon or good morning. Thank you for joining us. We're excited to share with you this morning Aim High and Aim High at Home, the program that we put together last year. And I will hand it over to our co-founder and executive director, Alec Lee, to get us started.
Thank you, Terrence. Leslie, thank you. I'll start by appreciating the amazing work that NSLA has done to elevate and advance summer learning over the past many decades. Congratulations. Thank you to the 58 people who've joined us. Terrence and I are looking forward to spending 45 minutes with you, telling our story, our pivot, and our decision-making. Next slide. I want to start by acknowledging yesterday's verdict. I also want to acknowledge how challenging, relentless, and painful this past year has been for AIM High students, for families, for our faculty. And Terrence is going to speak a little bit more about this in a couple of slides. We like to start by saying, why do we matter? And I will say that I think summer learning, supporting vulnerable youth in this moment, we matter more than ever, AIM High and like-minded programs. For those of you who don't know, we were founded in 1986, as Terrence mentioned. I'm the co-founder with a colleague and teacher, 35 years of impact. We matter because middle school matters. We matter because summer learning matters. We make a 5-week, 4-summer commitment to middle school students rising 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. And then a critical part of our mission is serving as a professional development opportunity for experienced teachers and also a springboard into education for aspiring teachers. Typically, we have 15 to 18 campuses across the Bay Area and 2 rural campuses in Northern California. Last year and this year, our mission didn't change. Not one iota. Obviously, our delivery changed significantly. Next slide. A quick look at our mission. I will just highlight 3 words that we remind ourselves every day, Terrence, myself, and our colleagues. AIM High is about nurturing, preparing, and inspiring. Today, we'll hear a little bit about what we designed and launched last year, how we're building on it in 2021. I think and then last, at the end of our presentation, we'll talk a little bit about our learnings and what we're carrying forward. Terrence, tell us a little bit about the context of this moment and the promise and possibility of AIM High.
Yes, again, good morning or good afternoon. My name is Terrence Riley. I am the Vice President of Programs for AIM High. I'm also a product of AIM High, as I went through and graduated from the program when I was in middle school. And I'm happy to be with you all this morning and sharing with you our story. And as we get into this and start talking about the pivot that AIM High made last summer and how we intend to build on that work again this summer. You know, Alec mentioned this a few moments ago, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention the historical news from yesterday. And 1 year ago, kind of almost exactly, is when this tragedy began to unfold and our country was hurting. We were collectively crying out to the world, and most importantly, our students were hurting and they were feeling very unseen and unheard. And so at AIM High, you know, what we did was we approached our summer last year from a place of hurt and sadness for our students and our families and everyone affected. But we also approached it from a place of encouragement and resilience and community. And at AIM High, we always put the needs of our students first, but last year, under these just extraordinarily unprecedented circumstances, we recognized the need to do more, to provide space for our students to be heard, to be seen, and to be celebrated, and to give our teachers the tools to build this community of belonging, even while we were being virtual. You add to that the fact that we were going through this global pandemic that was just devastating our world and really disproportionately affecting Black and Brown communities, we knew that we had to step up and we had to do more, and we had to be true servants for our students and our leaders, and provide just impactful programming and community during this time. And so that's exactly what we did. And so how did we start that? We started by listening to our students and families through conducting a needs assessment, really understanding what they were going through, what they were feeling, what they needed. And we wanted to really listen to that and make sure that we could provide what we could provide. We made our website available for resources in our community so that our students and families were aware of what was out there to support them during these times. And when it came to Aim High at Home, you know, our priorities were really around community and engagement, having meaningful partnerships to serve students, as well as social emotional learning. And I'm sure many people on this call right now understand the importance of social emotional learning, and it's always been within the fiber of Aim High, but we wanted to make sure that we really supported students during this time, you know, made sure that they not only got the academic support that they needed, but more importantly, just got that development, you know, to help them cope with the trauma that everyone was feeling, especially for these middle school students. And so what did Aim High at Home look like last year? Let me start with briefly talking about Aim High Classic, as we affectionately call it internally. Traditionally, Aim High is, as Alec mentioned, a tuition-free 5-week summer program for middle school students. We make a 4-year commitment to those students. And within our program, we offer 4 classes: math, science, humanities, and a really cool youth development class called Issues and Choices. All of our students participate in those classes every single morning of Aim High. And in the afternoon, they are able to participate in sports and activities, enrichment. We have college going culture. We have cultural days. We really want students to understand themselves, their communities, and those around them, and know that they are supported. With Aim High at Home, we shifted a bit because we recognized that we couldn't put you know, Aim High the way that it was into a virtual platform. And so we offered classes such as book club and STEAM. We really dove deep into community circles and really supporting our students and making sure that they had time to be heard and could express themselves during this time. And then to talk a little bit about our classes. So book club was a class where we really saw and looked at the research around fiction stories and how that can help with empathy. And so we had these short stories that we had our students read. I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter by Erica Sanchez, and The Medicine Bag. But really seeing themselves in these stories, having these stories be relatable to the experiences of middle school students, helping with identity. That was really important for us. And then when we look at our STEAM challenge, we really wanted to show the connectiveness of all these various disciplines. It's not just math and science, but it's math, science, art, music, engineering. We wanted our students to be curious, and we wanted to create challenges where they really could see these components in the real world. You know, our popular cookie challenge that we had, and then we ended with a school design challenge, because during this time, you know, we didn't know how we were going to go back to schools, what they were going to look like. And we wanted our students to have some choice and voice in that, and help to redesign a school the way that they want it to be. So that's what our book club and our STEAM challenge looked like. And then we also, of course, Aim High wouldn't be Aim High. Summer would not be summer if it wasn't for the opportunity to do some enrichment activities, to do some physical fitness, to really move your body and get out in the world. So we, as always, were able to offer some of those. And I'll let Alex talk about some specifics around that.
Thanks, Terrence. The slide really speaks for itself, but the activities, the college visits, the career opportunities, we reimagined that last year in a virtual environment, and we'll do that again this summer. We offered about 25 different activities. Some were live. Yoga was a live activity every afternoon, and then some were on demand. We actually had some students who did every single activity, which was pretty extraordinary. Terrence and the program team and my other colleagues, all have favorite moments from the summer. Our yoga teacher, yoga was very popular, and she would often take pictures of the chat box and then send it to our world headquarters. And in one, she asked the kids in the class at the end of yoga how they were feeling. And one student wrote, when I come to yoga, I feel loved. And that goes back to that community and connection, that guiding principle that was so critical last summer and will be again this summer. Next slide. Just a quick word about technology. That was a huge challenge, an opportunity, both last summer and this summer. I'm not going to go through the different bullet points, but just ask you to take a look at some of the upgrades we're doing for this summer. It's been great to partner with school districts and have school districts provide tablets and Chromebooks for Aim High students in all our different regions. And then the last bullet, the videos, you'll hear Terrence and myself talk about what is going to be part of Aim High forever. And there's a lot around technology that will be part of our work when we get back to the new normal. We're not there yet. Next slide. So something else that didn't change last summer or this summer was the commitment to data and measurement. And by the way, NSLA has been a great partner in that work. Typically, we serve over 2,000 students. Last year was fewer. And I want to acknowledge that students were really done. We're traumatized by last spring. But a data piece that Terrence and I are proud of is we started with 1,300 kids and we finished with 1,200. So once kids were in the virtual door, they saw this is something different. Classes are smaller, there's breakout groups. There's young teaching assistants. So the virtual worked, and that's part of our decision-making for this summer. There's some other results that happy to talk about in the Q&A or at some other point. We'll be sharing the slides for sure. Next slide.
Yeah, and so that does kind of bring us to a bit of a midway point, going over what Aim High at Home looked like last year. And again, it was a completely virtual program this year. It's going to look a little bit different in summer 2021, and we'll go over those changes and what it's going to look like to meet the current needs of our students. But we thought we would take a few minutes and pause and see if there were any questions around Aim High last summer and what we did and some of the decisions around that. So maybe Leslie, I don't know if you want to read some of the questions that were submitted earlier, or if we have some live.
Sure. Now. We did have one live question. What did your needs assessment look like for families?
Thank you. That's a really good question. And we conducted several needs assessments kind of over the past year, but we really wanted to make sure that our families knew that we were here for them and that we were supporting them. And while we are a summer program, we don't do much programming during the academic year. We could be a good resource and conduit for our families. So we really wanted to ask them questions around technology, questions around mental health, questions around what they were looking for in a summer program, and how we could meet their needs right now in this moment, what support they needed. There were a lot of families during that time, when we did our first assessment around food insecurity and wanting to know how they could have access to food. And so we made sure to really partner with other local organizations and give these families as much resources as we possibly could, given our limited capacity.
And you talked a little bit about the reception from the young people. What was the reception and engagement of families, parents, caregivers, and participating in a hybrid program?
Yeah, families were really into it. And I think we went into our planning in the beginning of summer knowing that we needed to do something. We couldn't just not do anything. But we had no idea what the reception was going to be. We put a lot of thought into it and really wanted to listen to our students and families, and they were very receptive. You'll see in a little bit, but we had things such as like family challenges. So our families could do these fun challenges together as a family and submit them into Aim High. We had things like a student store where students could earn core awards, which our core values are community, opportunity, respect, and high expectations. And so if students were able to show one of those core values, they got some core $4, and we're able to use that in our student stores. And our, and these were all new things to Aim High, and our students and our families were very receptive of that. Alec mentioned, the afternoon activities and the physical fitness, and I think our students really enjoyed doing that and being able to go at their own pace. You didn't have to do a regular 8 to 3 school day like we usually do in Aim High. You could do a live class and then do some work and then do a on-demand activity and really take the summer at your own pace.
So what were some of the keys of teaching both remotely and in person without sacrificing quality?
Yeah, well, let me say, so we were completely virtual last summer. And so it was around we wanted to really make sure that we did have that high quality that we usually have when it comes to our curriculum when we are usually in person. And so that's why we kind of made the decision to move away from our 4 classes that we usually have: math, science, humanities, and issues and choices, and adapt them to more of this virtual environment with the book club and reading short stories and really having these spurts of impact and engagement, and then doing the STEAM challenges that families or students could do every week. And so it was kind of a reimagining how we change our curriculum during this virtual world. But there were still those essences and those pieces of Aim High Classic that was still there.
Okay, and one last question for now. What were the 4 cores?
So our core values: community, opportunity, respect, and high expectations. And that was something that our Vice President of People and Operations, Matt Reno, created over a decade ago. And it's been a part of the fiber of Aim High. Every student, every teacher, everyone you talk to within Aim High knows those core values, and we really try hard to live by them. And whatever we create it has those core values at the foundation. So thank you for those questions. Really appreciate them, and we will have time at the end to answer some more. But now that we've looked at Aim High at Home last summer and how we made that pivot from in-person to virtual, we're going to look ahead to this summer, summer 2021, where we're really going to build off of what we created last summer, but we also, want to be flexible, and we want to do more, and we want to serve more students. So excited to share kind of what that's going to look like with you.
And Terrence, real quick, I saw a second question from Donna in the chat. So Donna, you get extra credit for asking 2 questions this afternoon, but she asked about how the needs assessment was disseminated. Was that through talking points, or what was the vehicle for doing that for families? And Donna, I will tell you that when we did the first one a year ago, in 48 hours, this was last April, almost a year ago right now, we heard from 800 families. And what they told us last summer, as Terrence mentioned, is our kids need to connect. They need to see beyond the walls of our homes. They need to experience joy and fun and community. But how did we disseminate that, Terrence?
Yeah, we've learned a lot over the past year around technology, and our students and families have grown in their technological literacy, and so has Aim High. So I would say pre-COVID, it definitely would have been a letter that we sent in the mail and asked families to mail back to us. But yeah, we have utilized a few new strategies in reaching out to our families, and one of those is Talking Points, which is a texting platform that we've been using for a couple of years now to really have a closer relationship with our families. And through Talking Points, you're able to text your families in different groups, and they actually have instant translation, because over 70% of our families speak a language other than English at home, and they're able to see that text in their own language and respond accordingly. And so that's our main source right now of contact with our families. And so that is how we did the needs assessment. I think we also sent an email as well that was translated in multiple languages to get that feedback from our families.
So now we'd like to take a few minutes and talk about our plans for summer number 2021, which is not the new normal, but we're anticipating the new normal will be next year. And here is where we've landed, and we're really proud of the decision we've made. I know we have people from all across the country, so you probably know that the Bay Area, San Francisco and Oakland, there have been a lot of challenges about returning in person. And a lot of resistance, and understandable resistance. So it's been a navigation. We're cautiously optimistic about the summer. We're hoping to grow to about 2,000 middle school kids. Recruitment is harder in a virtual environment. But our guiding principle is to build on the success of last summer with a very robust, engaging virtual program, supplemented and supported by optional in-person afternoon activities, Monday through Thursday, and then all day in-person opportunities on Fridays. And what's really guided our thinking for Terrence and the program team is, how do the greatest number of kids access Aim High and summer learning? If we had decided to just be in person, which I will say is impossible, but if somehow we had decided to do that, we know that hundreds of families would have opted out. So we feel like we've landed at the right place for this summer. And we're really viewing, this summer, last summer, this summer, as a window of opportunity to learn, and more importantly, to support the most number of students possible. So let's take a look at what our plans are for 2021.
Great. Yeah, so as Alec mentioned, the base of our program for this summer is Aim High at Home, the virtual learning program that we put together last summer. And when we started our planning in the fall, I mean, obviously, I mean, and we're here, I'm sitting in front of you in the middle of April, we still don't know what summer is really gonna look like. But definitely last fall, we didn't know what summer was gonna look like. We knew that we wanted to try our best to bring students in person and to have that interaction and that socialization, but we didn't know how possible that would be. So, and as Alec mentioned, we really want to be able to serve the most amount of students in a safe way and in a way where they feel comfortable. And so, you know, that's why we have Aim High at Home as the basis of our programming for this summer. But we've also been looking at ways to bring our communities together. And I'm really excited about those offerings that we are doing to bring our community and our students together in person in small ways this summer. And then another extension of our program this summer, we're calling it Aim High Extended. And this is an opportunity for us to be able to serve students outside of our normal footprint. You know, we are in the Bay Area, but because we are virtual, because we have established this new program, we can serve students that are all over the place. And we've had great interest from schools and cities in different regions about offering Aim High at Home to their students and families. And so we're really excited about that piece for this summer. But, you know, we wanted to, with our program this summer, we wanted to do more. We wanted to dive deeper. And so we're having more virtual sites. We're having more students. We're having more teachers. We're having more class time, because that was really important. Last summer, we didn't know if students would be engaged in the summer on Zoom in these classes. And we found out that, you know, with 30-minute classes, they wanted more, and our teachers wanted more. And so we're expanding that a little bit. And a big piece that we're changing is really around curriculum differentiation. And so making sure that we are really meeting students where they are in their grade level, that it is appropriate for them, and that they can really make some academic gains this summer as they go back into their next school year. And so this is just very briefly our content overview. And again, I'm not going to go through all of this. We will share the slides definitely later, but just wanted to give people a snapshot of what we're offering our students, and seeing that it is differentiated by grade. And so that students can really gain that academic enrichment and those touch points that they need to be successful when they go back to school next year. And then we wanted to do more, to provide more to our students. We wanted to make sure that they were set up, our students and teachers were set up for success this summer as they enter summer, and then our teachers provide them with the supplies they need, even if we are virtual, to have an engaging time with our students. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to provide our students with big supply kits, these boxes that are going to go and be shipped to every single Aim High student this summer. That's going to have, you know, things from you know, Aim High mask and hand sanitizers, to school supplies, to project supplies, to you know, anything that they might need to be successful in their virtual classes this summer. And then as well as providing the same materials for our teachers, so that our teachers can you know, make sure that they are impacting our students the way that we want to be, and engaging with them at a deeper level than what we were able to do last summer, and really kind of getting back to kind of how we were when we were in person. And then making sure that we're providing our students with, you know, access to the curriculum, access to the books and the short stories that we are reading. And Aim High is fun. You know, we wouldn't be Aim High without Aim High t-shirts, and without you know, Aim High water bottle and those things. And so we're providing that for our students and our graduates as well. And that's, you know, something we didn't do last year, and we're really excited about being able to offer that this summer. So one point that I talked about a couple of minutes ago is how can we reach students that are beyond our current footprint. Because we are virtual and because we created such an impactful virtual program last summer, we really, and Alec mentioned this in the introduction, we really wanted to see how we could serve the most amount of students, how we could be actively involved in this next chapter of supporting students more broadly and helping them with recovery through these academic challenges of the past year, through everything mentally and physically that students have been going through the pandemic. And so we have what we have called Aim High Extended. And so we said that, Aim High is open to any region that wants to be a part of Aim High at Home this summer. We had a lot of school districts, a lot of cities, a lot of regions interested in bringing Aim High at Home to their students. Right now, we have these 3 that are in California: West Marin, Santa Rosa, and Calistoga. These are locations that aren't necessarily close to Aim High. And if we were in person, we definitely would not be able to serve these students. And we're really excited about being able to serve them this summer, to absorb them into our current framework, into our current virtual sites. And so they will be participating in Aim High at Home the same way that every other Aim High student is participating in it. And I think that they'll get a lot out of this summer. I think that they will be engaged and impacted in the same way that all of our Aim High students are. And we look really forward to serving these students and as we look into the future, serving them more and being able to serve more students. And so that brings us to our in-person piece. A hybrid wouldn't be a hybrid without in person. So last year we were not hybrid, we were completely virtual, but we recognized the need, and fortunately things are changing. We again don't know what it's going to look like this summer, but things are changing and they are getting better. And we are excited about being able to offer in-person outdoor opportunities for our students this summer. And again, how did we start this process? The same way that we started last year, by doing a needs assessment, by surveying our families. And you'll see here, so we asked a very specific question of our families: would you be interested in having your student participate in in-person outdoor activities, obviously very safely and adhering to government guidelines? And it really was a mixed bag. We had some definite yeses, as you'll see. About 30% of our families said absolutely, but we also had about 20% of our families that said no, that's not something that they would be interested in. And then everyone else, the other 50%, was either they weren't sure yet, maybe it was a little too early in the spring for them to make that decision, or they had kind of stipulations around their participation. Transportation would definitely be a big issue for our families. Food would definitely be a big issue for our families. Vaccination and safety would definitely be a big issue for our families. So it's a mixed bag, and that's something we knew going into it, and it was a bit validating to know that we are creating this Aim High at Home virtual program that's going to be great for those students, but also knowing that for those that wanted to do in person, they had that opportunity as well. So what is our current plan looking like for in person? So again, we have Aim High at Home. That's our virtual program that students will log into every day of Aim High every morning and participate in that in the mornings. In the afternoon, we are offering an opportunity for students to come out every afternoon and be outdoors, to be with Aim High students, to be with Aim High teachers, and to do that in a really safe, meaningful, engaging way. Again, listening to students on what they needed and what they wanted, listening to our families as well. We're also partnering with great organizations. I love partnership is just such a key to our success, and we are seeing that again this summer. So partnering with Outward Bound, that here in San Francisco, they have a ropes course that our students can participate in, partnering with different sports and dance and soccer organizations where our students can participate in that. We had these live activities that were on your screen and you could participate in live last summer, but now being able to do that in person at a school site, on the grass, on the blacktop, that's really great. And then in order to manage all this, we thought it was really important for us to hire an in-person logistics coordinator, somebody who has been working in person with students for the past year and really understands what the intricacies are around that and how to do this safely. So excited about having that person on board to help guide us as we continue to serve these students and do it in person in a safe and meaningful way. But obviously we still have some challenges, and I think it's not on here, but I feel like the biggest challenge is just the unknown. We are sitting here in April. Summer is 2 months away, and we hear news every single day about how things are changing, but we really don't know what summer is going to look like as far as safety goes. And so that, it makes things a little difficult to plan, but we are definitely trying our best. We are being nimble and flexible, listening to our students, our staff, our families, and most important, listening to the government agencies around safety and being just absolutely cautious and safe. Another issue is facilities here in the Bay Area. Many of our schools haven't been in person yet this year. And so will we have access to facilities? That's one of the big reasons why we aren't going with in-person indoor instructions, and we're focusing on being outdoors because we don't know what that safety involves and how we could facilitate those facilities in person. Staffing, we hire academic year teachers who are teaching right now virtually, and they are they've had their challenges over the past year. And, and I think every summer teachers come to Aim High and they get re-energized and they're excited to be there, but we are living in unprecedented times, and finding, staff to teach our students is a bit of a challenge, but we feel good about where we're at right now. And then curriculum, again, making sure that we are doing something that is supporting the recovery of our students, making sure that not only are they engaged and getting that social emotional development and learning that they need, but they are also making academic gains, and that they come back to the next school year really ready to attack school with that passion and vigor. But figuring out what that curriculum looks like, how it looks different in person and virtual, is definitely a challenge. But we are meeting all of these challenges head on. I think we have answers for a lot of them, and that has helped us to design what I feel is a great program for this summer.
So this is our last slide, and Terrence and I are both going to say a couple of words about looking forward. I wanted to touch on a few questions that landed in the chat box. I also, before I did that, I wanted to comment and echo Terrence's remarks about curriculum. I think something that's really driving our curriculum, our community circles, is really acknowledging the resilience and the strength of our kids, of our graduates, many of who come back and work in the program as assistant teachers, as teaching assistants during the summer. And so reminding ourselves that that's part of the curriculum as well. Dara, thank you for your question. Yes, Aim High is a 501c3. So programming is planned centrally by our teaching and learning team, but our site directors do work for us during the academic year part-time, and they meet with Terrence and his team at least once a month, and they participate as part of curriculum committees, et cetera. I also saw a question, we do not have our own sites, so we're dependent on school districts. We work with about 7 or 8 different districts. Jessica, to your question about how many school districts we work with. And then there was a question about costs. Our budget this year is 6.5 million. When I say that number, I take a deep breath. We don't have a specific cost for the supplies or a specific grant for that, but it's part of our general operating grants and contributions we receive to support our 2,000 kids this summer. And then there's a couple other questions from Jessica. Too soon to tell about how many students will be participating in person. Parents might have a clearer idea. And you know, the reality, Jessica, about finding staff is we are hiring fewer. We wish that wasn't the case. You know, in 2022, let's all cross our fingers, we're back fully in person. We will be hiring more, and that is a challenge in San Francisco and the Bay Area. We hire a combination of certified and then also college and high school students. But let's take a look at this slide. I'm going to comment about the first three items. You know, the general point that I want to make is there's pieces that we've created that are never going to go away. So they're going to be part of the new normal in 2022 and beyond. Tech literacy. I'll give you an example of professional development. Our book club, Issues and Choices, STEAM teachers from all our different campuses, different regions, they met once or twice a week last summer across regions, across campuses. We had never done that before, but we did it last summer. And then we also were able to do a lot more around family education because it was all virtual. But the big piece, I'm going to shift to Terrence about what we've learned. So we'll hear that, and then we'll take a couple questions.
Yeah, so again, you heard me talk about Aim High Extended and this way where we could support students and families outside of our typical footprint, outside of our specific geographical location. And I think that's a big part of our learning. The way that we view technology and tech education has changed over the last year. And so we see this as a critical piece of Aim High moving forward. We want there to be more Aim High in the world. We want there to be more summer learning and summer engagement in the world. And if we can play a piece in that and serve more students than we typically do serve, I think that's great. And this also shows us that we can experiment and try new things and be okay with failing if we add some pieces here and take away some pieces there. But as we continue to refine what Aim High looks like and try new things, we want to continue to meet the needs of our students, whether that's here in the Bay Area in our specific location or beyond. And so I'm excited about what we've learned here and how we can take this and really blow it out and play our piece in this world just around summer education and summer learning.
Great, thank you so much, Alec and Terrence. So we have a couple more questions I want to throw at you all that are in the Q&A box. And if you have any questions for Terrence or for Alec, please go ahead and type those into the Q&A box. This is your chance not to shortchange Terrence, but we have Alec, who's a veteran in the field here, retiring this year. So if you have any questions, want to pick his brain, now is the time to do it. I have one question. How will you track participation and measurement youth outcomes of your hybrid model?
Yeah, so I mean, we take attendance every day, so we will continue to do that for the virtual program and the in-person program and monitor daily attendance. Like Alex said, last summer we had 1,300 students that started with us and 1,200 that finished, and that's something we feel really proud about. Doing a 5-week summer program. It's a big commitment for our students, and we're thankful that they make that commitment to us the same way we make it to them. So that's how we will kind of monitor our attendance and our progress. And then also, you know, we survey every constituent at Aim High, all of our students, all of our teachers, our parents, in order to get valuable information so that we can continue to grow and refine the program. And so we're looking forward to hearing that feedback from our families so that we can continue to grow off of our learnings from this year.
Thank you. Do you have any plans in place for how to tackle transportation challenge, the transportation challenge? This is a big one for us too, as vast majority of our families don't have car access.
Yeah, and that's a big one for us as well. And we are still really trying to figure that out. There is a bus company out here called Michael's Transportation that we've partnered with for several years, and they've really adapted to COVID and being safe within that regard. And so we're trying to work with them to figure out, how to do transportation with, less students being able to fit on buses and things like that. But it is a challenge, and we're continuing to look at that and try to figure that out before summer starts.
And Leslie, I would also say for that, in terms of the optional in-person, Terrence and his team are planning locations, all across Oakland and San Francisco, and choosing locations, school buildings, most likely, playgrounds, et cetera, that are accessible to families in the neighborhoods we serve. Leslie, I'll take the question about fee from Irma.
Okay.
Aim High is a free program, so we do not charge. Our cost per student is pre-COVID is typically around $2,000. And that's about $1,600 direct costs, $200 indirect, which is curriculum, technology, and then $200 overhead. We are less expensive during COVID, and that's why we're opening up Aim High beyond our footprint, which is what Terrence talked about. And then I see the last question, do you use instruments to measure academic or learning gains during or at the end of the program? And the answer is yes, we do. We have our own internal measurements that we do. We actually have a director of organizational learning. That's a critical part of our world headquarters team. And then also through some of our funders, the city of San Francisco and city of Oakland, we're able to measure both gains during the summer, but also successful transition to high school. That's a key part of our measurement. And then we track our students through high school graduation, college matriculation, and college completion. So thank you for that question. Terrence, do you see the last question from Janelle Nichols about in-person programming? We can share our slides around that. We are not doing indoor in-person. I want to be very clear with everyone. We've made a decision that that we are not going to be doing in-person, except there's a couple places, a couple campuses where we're exploring the opportunity of partnering with beacon centers. And so there might be some limited in-person kids coming to buildings to do Aim High at home. So I know that's a little bit complicated. That's something that may happen in a couple locations. Terrence, did you want to add anything there?
Yeah, so I'll just say we are in several different locations, several different counties across Northern California. And so each county, when it comes to COVID and safety and procedures, it looks different. Most things are falling in line, but we have to, and this is something I said earlier in the presentation, we have to be nimble and flexible and be able to adapt to our different situations and understand that Aim High may look differently in San Francisco than it does in the Tahoe Truckee area. And so, yeah, so to Alex's point, we might have some locations that look a bit differently and we're able to do more in person there.
So you mentioned earlier some of the partnerships you have with Outward Bound and a couple of other organizations. Over the years, what would you say has made partnerships with activity providers or other organizations successful?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that we really pride ourselves on and have worked really hard to figure that out. We actually, in 2015, I believe, with our last strategic plan, we started a new department called student opportunities, admissions and student opportunities. And that department was really focused on establishing these partnerships and figuring out how to successfully run partnerships. One piece of that is to really be explicit and have specific processes in place, such as MOU that states out what exactly you're going to bring, what exactly the partner's going to bring, have quarterly check-ins with your partner, but making sure that you're on the same page every step of the way, and that you're not just two separate organizations, but that you are coming together to serve this group of students. And so we've learned a lot through this, through having these partners and having this new department. Something else that we also created is called a partnership scorecard. So in addition to our quarterly check-ins with our partners, we do evaluations every year of how the partnership is working, and we are able to give them feedback. They're able to give us feedback, and so that we can, again, make sure that we are on the same page and doing all that we can to support our collective students.
And Leslie, we also differentiate. We have a group of about, I think, Terrence, about 12 or 15 strategic partners, which is what Terrence was describing. And then, of course, we have another 20 or 30 referral partners. And those are organizations that provide opportunities for both current students, but also graduates. And the reality is partnering, isn't always easy. But, as we like to say, we ask ourselves, how can we get 1 and 1 to equal 3? Much to the benefit of our students and families. So Leslie, thank you. And as I look through the list of attendees, I see a couple of familiar faces from our work and from your conferences and other interactions with great summer learning organizations. So I want to thank you for inviting us to present. It's really been an honor and privilege to be part of your webinar today. Terrence?
Yeah, again, I echo everything Alex said. Thank you, Leslie and NSLA, for having us. And thank you for all the participants and the great questions. Again, we are excited about what we've been able to create, not only for the past 35 years, but just with last year and this year in this new environment that we're living in, and looking forward to new opportunities moving forward, and recognizing that we are, just one node in this NOG, and hoping that we can continue to partner, continue to support students with every other organization out there, because we can't do it by ourselves. It really is a collective action that needs to take place. And so just appreciate everyone for listening and for all the work that you all do.
And I want to say thank you to both of you for doing this webinar for us today. Aim High is a 2-time winner of our Summer Learning Awards. So we're always excited to be able to share the great work that you're doing and the example that you're setting. With that, we're going to wrap up today's webinar. I want to invite you to attend any of our upcoming webinars next week. We have one entitled Cultural Crossroads, exploring the important intersection of summer program training and design with the critical need to address race, equity, and inclusion. That will be with Breakthrough Collaborative. And you can find more about upcoming webinars on our website, summerlearning.org/webinars. And if you aren't already following us on some social media, that's the best place to find out about upcoming events. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook. You can sign up for our newsletter on our website. There you can also join special cohorts of peers interested in topics like sports, literacy, or youth employment. You can also find out about consultation support and technical assistance for your summer program. So again, I want to say thank you for joining us today. I hope you found this webinar informative, and we will talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.